Hi there and welcome to today's video where we'll be diving into the Situational Judgement section of the UCAT exam. I'm Dr. Sarah Nichols and I will be guiding you through everything you need to know to tackle this section of the exam with confidence. So here's what we're going to be covering. We'll be talking about what situational judgment is, including the format of the questions and time limits. We'll also be covering the different types of questions that you'll face. We'll talk about how to answer them effectively with some key tips and strategies that you will not want to miss. But before we dive in, if you're looking for even more support with your UCAT preparation, stay tuned to the end to hear how you can get 50% off tutoring with our exclusive discount code. And if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave any questions or tips in the comments below. Okay, let's get into the video. Section 1. What is situational judgment? The Situational Judgement section of the UCAT is designed to assess how you would react to different scenarios that you might encounter in a healthcare setting. Now, while it's not a test of your medical knowledge, it does assess your ability to make decisions, to demonstrate professionalism, and to handle challenging situations that you might face in the real world. And here's what you need to know about this section. First of all, the number of questions. There are 69 questions in total, so these are broken down into 22 scenarios, with each scenario followed by 3 to 4 questions. Time. You have 26 minutes to answer all the questions, which means that you'll have just under 40 seconds per question. Time management is key here, so practicing under timed conditions is essential. Scenario format. Each scenario is written in a descriptive format, presenting a situation involving healthcare professionals, patients, or colleagues. You'll be asked to judge the appropriate response to that situation based on professional and ethical standards. The whole goal of this section is to evaluate how well you would behave in real-world high-pressure situations, which is why it's important to understand what the examiners are looking for. A great resource for understanding professional and ethical standards is GMC's Good Medical Practice, which outlines the core values that healthcare professionals must follow. Familiarising yourself with this document will help you better navigate the situational judgment section, as the principles it covers are at the heart of many UCAT scenarios, so it's well worth going and giving that a read. Another really useful resource is the Medical School's Council Statement on core values and attributes needed to study medicine, which highlights the key qualities required for a career in medicine, such as compassion, integrity, and professionalism. These values are directly tested in the situational judgment section, so it's worth understanding these core attributes as you prepare for the exam. Section 2. Types of questions in situational judgment. So there are a few different types of questions you'll encounter in situational judgment section, each testing your decision-making and ethical reasoning skills. So let's break them down here. First of all, appropriateness of actions. These questions assess whether the actions of individuals in the scenario are appropriate or not. So for example, you may be asked whether a healthcare professional's response to a patient's request is ethical or whether a colleague's action was justified in a given situation. Number 2, ranking actions. In these questions, you'll be asked to rank different actions from most appropriate to least appropriate based on the scenario. This tests your ability to prioritise actions in situations where there are multiple possible responses. Number 3, the degree of importance. So these questions ask you to assess how important a certain action or attitude is in a scenario. So for example, you might be asked how important it is for a healthcare professional to maintain patient confidentiality in a particular situation. Number 4, suitability of response. You might be presented with a scenario where somebody asks you for help and you have to decide how suitable your response would be. So this measures how well you can identify a balanced and professional reply in different situations. By understanding the different types of questions, you can start practicing specific strategies for answering them effectively. So let's have a look at a question example. So let's have a look at an example of a situational judgment question which requires you to determine how appropriate the statement is. So pause the video to read the scenario and think about your answer. We'll go through this in more detail together afterwards. This is a really good opportunity for you to practice how you would actually answer this in the exam. So let's have a look at this scenario. A junior doctor who developed a fear of needles is asked to carry out a lumbar puncture. Luckily for them, they have chosen a future medical specialism which doesn't require them to use needles. How appropriate is the following response? They tell the consultant that they will only do the procedure if they accompany them. Is it A, very appropriate thing to do, B, appropriate but not ideal, C, inappropriate but not awful, or D, a very inappropriate thing to do? Now let's have a look at some answer rationale. Well, as a junior doctor, you are expected to perform a range of medical procedures, including lumbar punctures. However, a fear of needles may cause harm to the patient if it invokes anxiety and hence reduced concentration and dexterity during the procedure. So yes, while it is a junior doctor's professional responsibility to perform the procedure, patient safety far outweighs work duties in a medical setting. Therefore, it's important that the junior doctor here requests assistance. Now, you may think, therefore, that this is an appropriate answer. However, it's the semantics and the tone of the statement that make it inappropriate. The statement connotes a sense of arrogant insistence due to the use of the phrase, only do it if. Having now decided that it's an inappropriate response, we must now deduce how inappropriate it is. Referring back to the aforementioned guide should confirm that this response, whilst inappropriate, does not cause immediate harm. So, the correct answer is C, inappropriate but not awful. Section 3, how to answer situational judgment questions. Key tips. Now let's talk about how to answer situational judgment questions and improve your performance. Here are some key tips for you. So first of all, think professionally. Always approach these questions with a professional mindset. The answers you provide should reflect the conduct expected in healthcare settings. This means prioritising patient safety, confidentiality, respect, and teamwork. Avoid personal bias and focus on the ethical standards of the profession. You can refer back to the GMC's Good Medical Practice and the MSc statement on core values for guidance on professional conduct. I'd highly recommend you go and read those. Also, consider the hierarchy. In many of the scenarios, there will be a clear hierarchy of actions that should be followed. For example, if a senior colleague gives you an instruction, it's usually best to follow it unless it compromises ethical standards. Similarly, if there's a patient involved, the patient's well-being should always be your top priority. Avoid extreme answers. Situational judgment often tests the ability to find a balanced response, so try not to choose overly extreme or absolute answers. So, for instance, responses like, immediately report this action, may be too strong, unless there's an obvious ethical violation. Instead, look for answers that demonstrate a considered and thoughtful response. Focus on communication and teamwork. Effective communication and the ability to work well within a team are crucial in healthcare. In many scenarios, the most appropriate response will involve clear communication, asking for advice from a senior colleague, or working collaboratively with others. So make sure to prioritise these qualities in your answers. Practice ethical reasoning. A key skill for answering situational judgment questions is understanding the ethical principles at play. Make sure you're familiar with core healthcare ethics such as patient autonomy, confidentiality, and informed consent. Knowing how to apply these principles will help you make more informed decisions when faced with tough scenarios. And be careful with time. Since the situational judgment section is time limited, you don't want to spend too much time on any one question. If you're unsure, try to eliminate any obvious wrong answers and go with the most balanced professional choice. Don't second guess yourself too much. Section 4, practicing for situational judgment. The best way to improve your score in the situational judgment section is through consistent practice. Here is how you can prepare. So the first piece of advice is to use official UCAT practice tests. These practice tests will give you a really good feel for the types of scenarios you'll face in the exam. And you'll also get to practice timing yourself and understanding how long you should spend on each section. Another good piece of advice is to simulate real exam conditions, practicing answering questions under timed conditions to improve your speed and decision making. Try to simulate real exam pressure so you can work through questions more efficiently. Review your answers. After completing a practice test, take time to review your answers. Look at the questions you got wrong and try to understand why your response wasn't the best. This will help you adjust your approach and improve over time. The Situational Judgement section of the UCAT is designed to assess your ability to make ethical and professional decisions in a healthcare setting. Understanding the types of questions, practicing your ethical reasoning, and staying calm under pressure will help you tackle this section successfully. And remember, if you're looking for extra UCAT prep, Medic Mind offers a number of different materials from UCAT textbooks, online courses, and question banks, as well as personalised one-to-one tutoring. Also, be sure to review the GMC's Good Medical Practice and the MSc statement on the core values and attributes to ensure your responses align with the professional standards expected in healthcare. And do you remember that code that I mentioned at the start of the video for 50% off one-to-one tutoring? Well, here it is. You can use the code NEWTRIAL50 at checkout, and you can find the link in the description box below this video. If you found this video helpful, make sure you click the like button, subscribe, and comment below with any questions or tips for tackling the situational judgment. Best of luck with your UCAT preparation, and we'll see you in the next video.